So chapter 11 of Boruto Vortex is finally here, and let's just say that the next chapter will be generational because the way this chapter ended is absolutely insane. So we have a lot to discuss, but of course we're gonna start from the top. So the person on the cover for this month is Hidari, and the title of the chapter is Serious. Now this more so has to do with Jura, but it somewhat applies to Hidari in some sense. But yeah, the chapter pretty much picked up where we left off in chapter 10 with Himawari tapping into the power of the Nine Tails. And the side text says, Himawari awakens on the verge of Inojin's death. What is her true power? We then see that Jura is taking notice of what's happening with Himawari's body. He then says, I assume this is the result of the Nine Tails chakra, but what does this mean? That's when Shikadai noticed that Himawari's leg is no longer broken. It's now fully healed. And we're going to address this, but it also ties into what happens next, so we're going to address that first. So you see that Inojin is still on the spike that Jura put him on. He's now still currently a donut. But that's when Himawari approached him and removed him from the spike using her hair strands. She then proceeds to inject the Nine Tails chakra into his body, and this is shown by the aura around him, of course. And just a few seconds later, and I literally mean this, like this is happening very quickly, like the hole in his chest is completely gone. So this simply means that Himawari is now tapping into the power of the Nine Tails to heal people and also heal its user. Now this is somewhat similar to Naruto's usage as seen back in the 4th Great Ninja War. He was able to heal people and also keep people alive by injecting them with this chakra. Now the key difference here, and also why Himawari is somewhat special here in this case, is that Naruto wasn't able to heal such damages to this extent, which is why Neji died in the war. The best we've seen Naruto heal someone else using the power of the Nine Tails is by healing Sasuke in the Boruto movie, which literally brought him back from being a burn victim, a serious burn victim. So the power is pretty overpowered. But yeah, Himawari's power is a little bit more advanced than Naruto's, and mainly because she has this deeper connection to the Nine Tails as mentioned by the Nine Tails himself in the prior chapter. Their souls are basically one. She's somewhat of a tail beast, a hybrid, and she also has a greater affinity to Kurama's chakra. Now I've mentioned this before, and I also said that I wasn't going to mention this again, but someone said in the comments that I shouldn't assume that everyone watches all of my videos, so I should just mention it slightly. So just in summary, the reason why she has this affinity to Kurama is likely because she awakened the chakra of Kaguya, which can be done by combining the chakra of her two sons, Hagoromo and Hamura. Similar to how Madara was able to awaken Hagoromo's chakra by combining the chakra of his two sons. And by the way, this was literally hinted at by Kurama himself when he stated that she has the Uzumaki and Hyuga blood flowing within her, and that's what determined their destiny. And as you know, Uzumakis are descendants of Hagoromo, and Hyugas are descendants of Hamura. So it pretty much makes perfect sense. And it's also shown by her just having the ability to manipulate her hair strands, similar to what Kaguya did. Now it could be just the Bijou ability because we've seen Naruto manipulate his cloak in the same way, but that's separate from being able to manipulate his hair strands, which he didn't do. So it might be a red herring, or it could just be a literal hint to her having this power, you know? But we'll see. But yeah, Himawari then tells them that she doesn't know if the wound is fully healed, so they should probably take him to a hospital as soon as possible. And of course, Shikadai is shocked by this. He's like, yo, what is this power? And she's like, yo, I'm not sure myself, but I think this guy can sense it somehow. That's what I'm going to confirm. She then says she's going to defeat Jura. That's all she can do. If I can't, he'll defeat all of us. So again, when faced with circumstances, you have to adjust and just do what you can do. Again, this brings us back to the Naruto thing with Naruto fighting Ishiki, even though he knew he wasn't strong enough. It's just something he had to do because he was the Hokage. He couldn't just go and hide or something, right? He had to fight Ishiki even though he wasn't powerful enough. And we also see Kawaki say something similar later on in this chapter, but we're gonna get to that point soon. But yeah, she pretty much tells Team 10 to run away. His only target is me. And Shikadai doesn't even hesitate. Bro said, let's get going, we're on our way. Like, he didn't even like hesitate. Bro didn't like, should I really do this? Like, should I leave her? She's like, okay, you're right, let's go. It's so funny. And of course, Chocho is being a little bit emotional because, you know, it's Himawari and so on. She doesn't want to leave her behind. And Shikadai replied saying, yo, think about this calmly and logically. You know, this is Shikadai, the same, you know, Shikamaru thing here is doing. He's thinking about this logically, you know? So he's like, it's a fight we may have no chance of winning. We should save as many lives as possible. That's what Himawari is saying. And then we have Jura chipping in, trying to gaslight him, saying, an assiduous decision, Shikadai Nara. I've committed your name to memory. Let's meet again soon. Like, I can just imagine this guy's voice and what it will sound like in the anime. It's gonna be so cool, man. Like, is gonna be so cool. But yeah, let's move on. And of course, Chocho is a bit reluctant to do it, you know. She's like, no way, we can't do this. I can't accept this. I can't leave you behind. But Himawari kinda like toughens up. She's like, I'm at a loss myself, but if I have some sort of power, I also want to take on the responsibility. That's what my dad, shoutouts to Naruto, and her brother Boruto would do. Okay, so she's just like stepping up to the plate. And that's when Chocho finally gives in. She's like, don't forget your promise to get pancakes with me later. Of course, Chocho. But yeah, Himawari says, I won't forget, I love pancakes. And that's when Team 10 heads out. And I really love this part because Jura starts to like talk his nonsense again. He's like, I understand that you're not mere simpletons. That's why it's so baffling to me how frequently your ability to make decisions is impaired. He then proceeds to say that Inoji neglected his warnings several times. His rationality was stripped away until his reckless behavior resulted in his destruction. It is entirely incomprehensible. Hold on. It is entirely incomprehensible to me, but controversially. Is that the right word to be there? I don't know. But anyways, he says controversially, whatever. Something inside you seems to have ignited. Was it just a coincidence, or is there some sort of correlation? But of course, Big Himawari is completely fed up with his constant yapping, and she says, shut up, and then punches him straight in the gut. And this reminded me about Naruto vs Pain when Pain was yapping about peace and sensei and all that lovely stuff, and Naruto just interjected and says shut up and then launched the Rasengan shuriken at him. Like, this reminded me of this moment like immediately. So yeah, she punches him. We see the ground like crack because the weight of the punch and stuff, so she's pretty strong. She then pulls back and punches him once again, which sends Jura flying across the battlefield, crashing through multiple structures. But Jura then responds immediately by flying towards Himawari. But that's when she starts to form a Biju bomb. So that's where we get the spoilers with Jura kinda like stopping in mid-air and then creating a Biju bomb of his own to respond to Himawari. And we see this like effect, and I love this because you haven't seen a lot of DC, which is like destructive capacity. We haven't seen much of that in Boruto. So Himawari is just using the Biju bomb and it's sinking her into the ground. And I remember seeing this back in Naruto when Naruto was fighting Orochimaru and he did the Biju bomb and then he compressed it and made it heavier. And you know, the more you compress chakra, the stronger it gets. So it does seem like that's what Himawari is doing here as well. But of course, Jura responds with his own Biju bomb from in the sky, and they pretty much collided and cancelled each other out. Now, before the power scalars start to go crazy, guys, this doesn't mean that Himawari is equal to Jura, okay? I want you guys to calm down. We're gonna get to a point where you're not gonna be able to say that, so just wait, just wait. So, next panel shows that Himawari is looking at Jura and all that lovely stuff, and Jura then says, well, isn't this a surprise? That power goes without explanation, but for you to be able to form a Biju bomb at this stage, despite the power of the Nine Tails being a prerequisite, it's intriguing how you've managed to achieve such rapid evolution. But other than that, and then he rushes in, headbutting Himawari. So he literally speed blitzed her. She couldn't even react to what he's doing here. She then flies back a bit, similar to what she did to him a few panels before. But of course, she was able to find her footing by digging into the ground. But that's when Jura appears over her instantly. And of course, he's not using Flying Thunder God. He's not using any type of teleportation. He's literally speed blitzing her. That's how much power difference there is between these two characters. He then kicks her from above and she smashes into the ground, and he's like, this is a first for me. You've allowed me a bit of freedom. I'm starting to want to try it out, taking this fight seriously, that is. So yeah, Himawari is getting destroyed as I predicted in my video about why she can't win. Jura isn't the character for Himawari to defeat narratively, so she's not going to be able to defeat him. And her power simply won't be able to do it. So yeah, we see Himawari on the ground, she's like bleeding and stuff, so she's taking quite a beating. But that's when we switch over to Hidari, and he's still sitting on the ground just looking at them, chilling. And Sarada then says, that's a fatal wound. It hurts, doesn't it? I'll leave you as long as you answer my questions honestly. What exactly are you? Why can you use the Chidori? He then crawls into the claw mark and then appears on the other side, and that's when it seems like his wounds started to heal. Now this is very interesting because it's only after he went into the claw mark and emerged on the other side that they then started to point out that his wounds were healing. So I'm not sure if it's implying that traveling through the claw marks heals his wounds. I don't see any reason why that would be the case. So it could be the case that it's just his regular 10 Tails ability just chipping in at that point in time. It's just a coincidence, you know? But yeah, Hidari then says, you, those eyes, I heard from Jura they are the Sharingan, right? He then says the skill I just used earlier, so it's called the Chidori. I thought it was rather difficult to use. In order to execute it properly, I need eyes like yours, don't I? And Sarada's like, yo, what is this guy talking about? So once again, as I mentioned in my video breaking down the fight between Hidari and Sarada, it's more than likely that he wasn't able to use the ability properly because he doesn't have the Sharingan. And there's this big misconception that the Rinnegan also has every ability of the Sharingan, just because we saw the Sharingan evolve into the Rinnegan. But it has been established in the story that the Rinnegan doesn't have the same visual prowess as the Sharingan and the Byakugan. They're two different things, right? It's way more powerful than it has different abilities, but it doesn't have the same perception ability. So it's like a trade-off for power, you know, you gain other things and you lose something. That's why Sasuke still activates his Sharingan to use his Chidori, even though he has the Rinnegan active all the time, 24/7. So it's pretty much backed up in the story, and it's also confirmed by Hidari literally saying that he needs it in order to complete the jutsu. So yeah, it doesn't really change much in the fight itself, because even though he has this disadvantage per se, Sarada still has to be relative to him to take advantage of it. So the feat itself isn't as impressive as it was before. Absent of this information, the feat is a bit more impressive. But with this in mind, it's still impressive, but not as much. That's all I'm gonna say. But let's move on. So we have Konohamaru kinda questioning Hidari's like, that doesn't answer the question. What are you? No. What relation do you have to Sasuke? And Hidari's like, who is that? You want to know who I am? I'm also looking for that answer. That's why I came to Konoha. And then Sumire kinda just randomly shouts at Konohamaru. She's like, protect Sarada. This guy's targeting her, or at least I think. No, there's no mistaking it. I'm not sure what exactly is happening here because she just randomly shouts this. It could be implying that she senses something because something just triggered on this panel. Maybe she has some ability that allows her to discern like intent, and maybe it has something to do with Nue. But of course we'll find out soon enough. But yeah, that's when you see Hidari's hand rise through one of the claw marks behind Sarada, and then he just shocks her using Chidori, some lightning style ability. And it does seem like she got damaged pretty badly because she has the scratch marks and also the pupil turned to white, which is typically used in manga and anime to depict high levels of damage. But yeah, the random Jonin ran in, tried to use the Earth style release, but before he could even get it off, Hidari pretty much no-diffed him using Fire style. That's when Konohamaru tried to sneak him using a Rasengan, a regular Rasengan by the way, but Hidari just teleported behind him using the claw marks. He then tried to pretty much murk him using the Chidori once again, like this dude is just spamming this ability. But Konohamaru is prepared, he uses a Rasengan Vortex barrier wind style ability, which pretty much allows him to block the ability, but of course he's way weaker than Hidari, so it sends him flying into the wall behind him. And guys, this is what happens when two characters are not relative in power. As seen with Boruto and Hidari, when they did the clash, of course it cancelled out. But in this case, because Hidari is way stronger, one of them gets sent flying. But let's not forget our resident useless Jonin here. What's his name again? Nishi. He just looks at Hidari and then just does nothing, and Hidari just ignores him. So this guy is a complete coward. But yeah, Sumire turns her back to the enemy for some reason and she gets electrocuted and then falls to the ground completely paralyzed, and so is Sarada to some extent, because the ability Hidari is currently using seems to be Chidori Stream, which is what Sasuke used it to do as well. But yeah, we then switch back over to Himawari and Jura is just beating on this child, bro. It's crazy, like smacking her across the face, and it seems like he uses a mini Biju bomb to like rip off her clothing. I'm not sure what exactly is happening here because the skin itself isn't damaged. It's just the clothing that was destroyed. But Himawari then falls to the ground holding that side of her body. So I'm not sure if he does like some internal damage, like attacking her at a cellular level. That would be pretty crazy. But it does seem like that's what happened here because he didn't fire a Biju bomb. Oh, and by the way, I did see some people on Twitter saying that this is child abuse, but I want you guys to really understand here that Jura is only just a few hours old, okay? This guy is a child. He's younger than Himawari, so this isn't child abuse, okay? This is just kids having a tussle. So let's just get that straight. But yeah, Jura goes on to yap as per usual. He's like, as I thought, your recovery abilities are astounding. More than a human or Jinchuriki. It's almost like your existence is similar to that of a Biju or us Biju. He then goes on to say that you've been considerably weakened. Of course, no matter how much you heal your wounds, you're unable to avoid the drain on your chakra. The Nine Tails is there, you know, like saying tusk, tisk. He's more of a monster than I thought. This isn't a situation we can solve just because you have high potential. This guy is too tough of an opponent. Again affirming that Himawari isn't strong enough to defeat Jura. But that's when we switch over to this funny scene. So we have Kawaki and Delta flying over to the scene. They're still like taking their lovely time, you know, very slowly, of course. And she says, Kawaki, don't get mad at me, but we're about to face the opponents you just got your ass whooped by. She literally says this, by the way. What do you plan on doing once you get there? Kawaki then says, I don't have any other choice. I'll just have to do what I can. So as I mentioned before, Kawaki is doing the same thing Naruto did with the Shiki and Himawari did earlier. Like, yeah, you know, I'm not strong enough to defeat this opponent, but I'm the best chance we have at this point. So I have to do what I can do. If I die, it is what it is. But I can't just sit around not doing anything. You know, it's very simple. But that's when a black blur, zips past them. Now this is very interesting here, right? Because this black blur turns out to be Boruto flying at super speed. So these guys here, right, I want you to understand how fast Boruto is. To them, Boruto seemed like a blur. Kawaki only saw him after he passed him. So Boruto is just way above this guy. And mind you guys, Kishimoto didn't need to do this, right? He didn't need to have Boruto fly in between Delta and Kawaki. He didn't even have to have Boruto fly anywhere near them. But he just wants you guys to understand that Boruto is way above this guy. He just wants to drill that in, you know? He's doing this. He finds this funny, you know? So Kawaki fans, just enjoy this. Don't feel bad. We know Kawaki is gonna turn up eventually. He's gonna get powerful again, based on what happened in episode 1. So just have faith, you know, calm down and just enjoy it, you know. But yeah, Boruto then proceeds to zip past Jura himself and grab Himawari. Now I'm not sure if Jura allowed him to do this because he did see him before he arrived. And if he didn't, it would imply that Boruto is too fast for Jura to react to him, which I really doubt is the case. So it's more likely the case that Jura didn't really care that much, but we'll see what happens next. But then switch over back to Hidari. He's saying, as for what I am exactly, I myself do not know. But there is one thing. For some reason, I've known you since the start. Uchiha Sarada, I will ask the same question to you. What exactly are you? If I devour you right now, what will I gain? And while he's doing this, he's actually using the tree thing, turning his hand into like the wood stuff and trying to absorb her. But that's when she notices the frog holding the pendant that Boruto uses to use Flying Thunder God. Of course, she doesn't know this, but we as the audience, we do. So we see that the frog is talking to Boruto, then says it arrived, confirming Uchiha Sarada. But anyways, Boruto used Flying Thunder God to teleport to that toad, and then proceeds to slice off Hidari's hand, saving Sarada. And chapter pretty much ends with Boruto standing before Hidari and Jura saying, how pretentious. And Hidari acknowledging Boruto's presence by saying, Otsutsuki Boruto. So yeah, Boruto is clearly like the strongest character, one of the strongest characters in the manga currently. Like he's literally the MVP of this chapter, or the entirety of like Tubular Vortex. But this chapter specifically, like he really carried. He saved Himawari from Jura, and he's now saving Sarada from Hidari. So I think the next chapter is gonna be generational because we have Kawaki and Delta heading over to Jura, and we have Boruto and Sarada facing Hidari. But that aside, let me know your thoughts on this chapter specifically. Was it a good chapter? Was it a bad chapter? Mediocre? Whatever? I'll probably do a poll on the community post so you guys can just vote there instead, but you guys can just like note it down in the comment section as well. And also drop a like if you like the video and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out. By the way guys, join the Discord. Link is in the description. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.